everyone, I'm Yidan. As a former HR director with over a decade of experience, I've negotiated salaries on behalf of employers hundreds of times. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain to share 9 insider tips to help you negotiate a higher salary with confidence. I'll also provide real examples and key phrases you can use so you know exactly how to ask and make sure you don't leave money on the table. So let's get into it. Tip number 1 is to pick the right time to negotiate. Timing is everything when it comes to asking for a raise. So when is the best time? Here are some examples. First, when you've taken on more responsibilities or your workload has increased. Second is before you step into a new role within the company. Third is right after a big win, like closing a major deal, leading a successful project, or exceeding key performance goals. If none of these situations apply, it's still a good idea to negotiate your salary at least once a year, especially during performance reviews. That's when companies set their budgets so you don't miss out on your best shot at a bigger paycheck. However, be strategic. If your company just had a bad quarter or went through layoffs, it might not be the best time. But don't assume that just because times are tough, a raise isn't possible, because in most cases, companies still prioritize keeping their best employees. Tip number 2 is to identify the right decision maker. One of the biggest mistakes employees make when negotiating their salary is assuming that their direct manager is the only person they need to persuade. In reality, compensation decisions often involve multiple stakeholders, including HR, finance, and senior leadership. Understanding who has the final say and how to influence them can significantly improve your chances of success. For example, if HR controls the salary budget, it might help to build a strong case with them. Or if the company is operating on a tight budget, finance may have the final say on whether funds are available for raises. Or if you work for smaller companies, senior executives may need to sign off on salary adjustments. Now, if HR or finance holds the power, consider scheduling a separate conversation with them to understand the company's compensation policies. If senior leadership is involved, your best bet is to get your manager or department head to champion your case. Either way, the key is to build strong relationships with decision makers before you even start negotiating. That way, when the time comes, you've already got people in your corner. Here's an example of how you can influence the true decision makers. Let's say you are a marketing manager seeking a raise. You first approach your boss and present your case. Your boss agrees, but mentions that HR needs to approve it. Instead of waiting, you can take these proactive steps. First, you provide your boss with market salary benchmarks to support your request. Second, you set up a casual conversation with HR, asking about the company's salary structure and if there are room for adjustments. Third, you ensure senior leadership sees your work by sharing success stories in company meetings and highlighting your direct contribution to revenue growth. This way, you significantly increases your chances of success. The third tip is to prepare your case with data. When you are in actual negotiation, don't just say, "I want a raise." This can sound too blunt and put your manager, HR, or anyone who you are negotiating with on the defensive. Instead, come prepared with data that shows your value. For example, you can highlight your key contributions by showing customer and peer feedback, major wins, and measurable results. If possible, how your work impacts the company's bottom line. The more money or efficiency you bring in, the stronger your case. Another example of how you can get yourself prepared with data is to draw a comparison of your past versus your current responsibilities. What were you hired to do versus what you are doing now? Instead of saying, "I deserve more," frame it as, "I love taking on more responsibilities and I'm excited to contribute more. Based on my increased scope and market trends, I would like to discuss an adjustment in my compensation." This keeps the conversation positive and makes it easier for your manager to say yes. Coming to tip number 4, which is to know the market rate for your role. Before negotiating, research what others in your industry, company size, and location are earning. Market salary information can be found on a lot of great resources such as Glassdoor, ZipRecruiter, Indeed, Levels FYI, and etc. I will leave the links to these websites in the description below this video. You can also talk to peers or third-party recruiters. Recruiters especially, in most cases, have a deep understanding of salary trends and can give you insights where you cannot see elsewhere online. The fifth tip is to use your own budget to your advantage. Here's the thing. Companies usually have a set salary range for every role, which means there's already a budget for what they can pay. And in some states, they are legally required to tell you if you ask. So try asking, what is the salary range for my position? This flips the conversation back to them. Here's an example of how to make this work in your favor. Let's say your current salary is 85K, but when you ask about the salary range, you find out they can actually pay up to 100K. Instead of settling, you can say, I appreciate you sharing this with me. Given my experience and the fact that I've already taken on key projects and exceeded my goals, I believe something closer to 95K would be a fair reflection of my contributions. What can we do to make that happen? By getting them to lay their cards on the table, you're giving yourself the best shot at maximizing your salary. Tip number 6, use leverage, but be smart about it. A lot of times, it is helpful to get another offer before negotiating salary with your current employer. If you have another offer, use it strategically. Instead of threatening to leave, which you definitely don't want to do, frame it as, I received an offer that surprised me. It's significantly higher, but I love working here and want to stay. What do you think my prospects are in terms of salary growth? This way, your employer sees you as loyal but in demand. If they value you, they will try to make a counteroffer. The next tip, which is tip number 7, is to keep it positive and collaborative. Think of salary negotiation as more of a conversation than a showdown. You're not just asking for more money, you're working together to find a solution that works for both you and your employer. For you, a raise shows that your hard work is being recognized and keeps you motivated. For your employer, a happy, engaged employee is more productive and likely to stick around longer. So instead of coming up with demands, keep the tone friendly and professional. You can try saying something like, I'd really love to find a way to make this work for both of us. What do you think? Or you can say, what do I need to do to work toward this salary? This keeps the conversation open and positive, making it about finding a win-win solution for both sides. And that also brings us to tip number 8. Use open-ended questions to shift control. Instead of saying, I want a raise, you will guide the conversation and make your boss feel like giving you a raise is their decision. You can do this by asking calibrated questions that encourage the other person to solve the problem for you. These questions should begin with how or what, because they make the other person think critically without feeling pressured. For example, you can ask them, what would need to happen for me to earn a higher salary? Or, how can I contribute more to align my pay with my impact? This makes your employer think critically rather than shutting the conversation down with a simple no. Another example, if they say, we'll consider raises next year, you can ask, what does success look like for me to be eligible? If they say, you need to perform at the next level, you can ask, what specific actions would demonstrate that? These questions turn vague excuses into actionable steps. The last tip, tip number 9, if they say no, pivot to other benefits. Sometimes the answer on salary is a hard no, but that doesn't mean the conversation is over. Instead of walking away, shift gears and talk about other perks that could add value. Maybe there's room for bonuses, stock options, pay time off, remote work flexibility, professional development budget, and so on. Startups, for example, might not budge on salary, but could be more open to offering equity. The key is to stay flexible. There's more to compensation than just the paycheck. So there you have it, my top 9 tips for navigating a salary negotiation with confidence. If you have any questions or want to share your own experiences, drop a comment below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tips on building your career. You've got this. Go get what you deserve.